Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Don't you want to kill someone when you wake up? I do. Hi, my name is Yusuke Wada. I'm your host in jfuneral.com. There is a law in Japan, the graveyard and burial law, which is also in Japanese called墓地埋葬法, or in short, Bomaiho. This was established in 1899, 124 years ago. Yes, 124 years ago in Meiji 32 year. It was renewed in 1948, Showa 23, 75 years ago. Whatever. Updated, renewed drastically back then, but not now. Some of the laws are updated according to the laws that changes on and on. Minute changes such as rules for COVID death or basically a super contagious disease, what to do with them. This law was made so that you just can't throw away the bones of someone in the midair or just leave it on the ground or just leave it on the in the plain rice field. No, you cannot do that. All right, it was basically to regulate the unlawful cremating, also as destruction of evidence. Yeah, you cremate someone, you can kill someone, and then you burn it into the ashes, you roast them. That's to stop that. Also for public hygiene. Basically, you don't want to just roast someone in the mid-air or in your backyard and let it half burnt and throwing it out and let the rats chew on it. No, you cannot do that. This was the basic law. The first statement says that you cannot bury elsewhere than the cemetery, and cremation is only allowed at the crematorium, meaning that you cannot roast someone in your backyard. Yes, simple as that. Also, in the past, you were able to have graveyards in the middle of nowhere, such as your backyard or in the middle of rice field paddies. No, you cannot do that anymore. You cannot have that anymore. The next statement says that cemetery, ossuary, also known as charnel houses, which is a place to store the cremated bones. By the way, in Japan, the bones are not ashes yet, and when returned to the surviving family, the crematorium must not deny the storage of or the cremation when requested unless there is a valid reason. This is the basic rule and the idea that the Japanese cremation law. One of the reasons 99.7% are cremated was because of pest 100 years ago. What happened was a lot of people died from contagious disease carried by the rats, like in the middle of everywhere else in the world, and the Meiji emperor back then said, cremate them. And cremation has been around in Japan for hundreds of years. But then cremation started due to public hygiene, basically pests back then. Nowadays, the only people that 0.3% of the people who are not cremated are people who are living on the islands where they do not have a crematorium or for religious reasons. If you have a burial, there are 4 places, I believe, that you can have a burial. 2 in Yamanashi, that you do not have to be cremated, 1 in Ibaraki, and 1 in Hokkaido. These are the 4 burial cemeteries that one do not have to be cremated, and like people for Islam or Jews, and when they are legally living in Japan, allowed to live in Japan, like Japanese Islam. I know several people, and they do not have to be cremated, and there is no law that prohibits you from not being cremated. Some people misunderstand this law as that you have to be cremated. No, you do not have to be. Like I said in the past vlog, in the YouTube video, you don't have to be cremated. So what happens is you get a special permit of not being cremated. Simple as that. And there are also in Tokyo temples offer for monetary reasons to store or for the burial. So that's another solution. So what it is the graveyard and burial law in Japan have not changed for the past many years, over 70 years, drastically. There's three requirements actually that where you can process your death certificate. One is that where your domicile is registered domicile. And it's not your home. It's not your home where you're living, where you registered in your city or the municipal place or whatever it is. It's not where you live or being registered. You can have your domicile, like if I'm a Hanshin Tigers fan of Osaka or of Western Japan, I can have my domicile as the Koshien baseball field on the third base dugout. Even in someone else's home, you can have that. Now, nothing stops you from there. 2, a place where you died. A place where you died. Let's say I was on a tour to somewhere else in Japan, really far away, like Hokkaido, Okinawa, and you can be processed there to process your death certificate. The third place, person who is writing who is going to the municipal office for your registering your death certificate, where that person lives. Let's say I live in Okinawa, very far away, southern island, and my relatives die in Hokkaido, but they live in Tokyo, but they did not have their death certificate processed in where they died. And not only that, they live in Tokyo, but then my relative was a Hanshin Tigers baseball fan and had his domicile in Western Nishinomiya, which is a Western Japan Koshien baseball field on the third base dugout. There, I either have to go to Nishinomiya City, or I can have it processed in Okinawa, or I can have it. I have to go to Hokkaido where my relatives died. This is a big problem. The reason is, what happens if the body is already in Tokyo or somewhere else? I have to go and to the same place where all these places to have it processed. This becomes a big hassle every once in a while. When you die, think of where you live or where you want to die, and where your registered domicile and where your home is. I rest my case. Thank you very much for listening. Have a good day and enjoy. Bye-bye.